Hi, welcome to this exciting tutorial. I'm sure we're going to be having fun today. I know you've heard about the Adalo location feature. Yeah, it's everywhere. It's allowing you build amazing applications that is location dependent. So if you're building applications that requires users to type in locations, that requires you to type in location address, then this new feature is for you, and you should stick around and watch this tutorial from the beginning till the end. And meanwhile, for those persons who have subscribed to my channel, I would really want to say thank you. And if you yet subscribe, click on the button below and just subscribe so that you get to see any new videos when I launch them. So let me show you what you're going to cover today. So today, I'm going to cover how to set up locations, how to use the location property type, how to set up mappings, how to implement search by locations in your Adalo, how to get device and users locations, and how to compare two locations. So this is a whole lot, and we're going to spend a lot of time here. Maybe 40 minutes, maybe less. So if you're not, just grab your cup of coffee, because we're going to be having fun learning about how to compare locations and how to set up locations in Adalo. So in case you're wondering, what am I going to use the location feature? What can I use it for? It will enable you to build amazing applications. For example, you've heard of this application called DoorDash. DoorDash is a directory that enables you to find food stuff. That enables you to find things like burger, creams, and a whole lot of other stuff. Say for example, my delivery address is 333 Fremont Street, California. So if I click on this, what's going to happen is that it's going to take me to another part of the application where I will see all the restaurant, every delivery, every person who can deliver to my address within a very short time. And you can see it's able to calculate the distance between where I just typed to the other person. You can see like 29, 32 minutes, 32 minutes, 34 minutes. So you can see, so when I order from these places, I'm going to get my stuff within this minute. So which is super awesome, which is super cool. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this tutorial. So let's get started. As usual, the way you will get started with Adalo is that you will open a new application. It could be a web, it could be a desktop. So I'm just going to go with the native. So we'll click on the next. For this tutorial, I'm going to be using a template, and the template that I'll be using is the ordering template, this one. Why? Because it has a few things that has an address. So I'm going to say Adalo location setup. Adalo location setup, and I'll say create. So I'm not going to bother about all of the aspects of the application. What I'm just going to bother about is the location feature. First, we'll go ahead and set up our location, which is the first thing we have here as the task right here. Go ahead and set up our location. And how do you set up your location first in Adalo? You do so by getting your API. When you hear API is just application programming interface. It's just some sort of a string or a web address that enable you to relate with other services. It's not such a big deal after all. So the way to do it, just type geolocation API. Just type Google geolocation API. Just like that. And it will take you to this developers console, and all you have to click on get started. That's fine. So when you click on get started, what you're looking for is this API. That's what you're looking for. But if you've created stuff like, if you have an API that you've created before, all you have to do is to add the location, all you have to do is to make it support locations. That's the only thing you have to do. But if you don't have, what you do is that you go to APIs, and you go to APIs. So you can see, you go to APIs to see if you have any of these. So you can see, like, I have directions, geolocation maps, so all this. Don't worry about figuring out what to add and what not to add. I'm gonna send you the sheet below. This particular sheet below. So we need to add these four. So I'm going to send you the link below, and it will be very straightforward for you to add all this. So let's do that. First thing first, go to credentials. go to credentials. You can see I have this set up already, Adalo location, but I'm just going to show you how to set up a new one, then I'll delete it afterwards. So you go there and you write API key, click on API key. So you're just going to create your API key that you can use. API key, then you just copy this API key, go back to your Adalo and click on your settings, scroll down, click on API key right there and just paste it. And that's what you have to do. But even if you do this, it's not really going to work. The way you will know that it's not working is if you go back to your database. If you go back to your database, and I'm going to say food trucks because this is the part that contains the location. So the way I'm going to do it is that I'm going to say add food trucks. I'm going to go to locations and I'm going to start typing location. So you can see it's not working yet. The reason why it's not working, it's because, so it's not working yet. Really? Yeah. So it's not working yet. But one other thing that we can do, we can also check if we added a location property. So we'll go like this, we'll add this location property. So we'll say truck location and say save. So now you can see, you'll see the difference. This is location and this is just a string with an A, and this is location with the map icon. So that's how you know the difference. So instead of using this one for your location, if you are in the Adalo premium plan, go ahead and use this location property. It's better for you. It's going to save you so much headache, especially if your app depends on the location feature. So we'll go ahead and try it again. Click here. We'll go ahead and add a new food truck, and we'll try to add an address. It's pressing the address very well, and you can see it. But in Adalo, when you're trying to do it in your own application, it's not going to work. Why? Because you've not added other APIs. So you have the API key, yeah, you have the API itself, but you've not added some of the features. Yeah, you've not. I'm trying to explain it the best way possible. Don't want to use very big grammar so you can explain it, so you can understand it. Okay, so let's go forward first. So we have the API key connected here. That's what we have. We have the API key. But once you have the API key, the next thing that you want to do, you want to add APIs. Maybe you want to add APIs that you have access to. Mine is able to display because I've added those APIs before. But now you want to add APIs that you have access to. So if you click this, click the API, and then you can see, don't worry, don't restrict it. This is just don't restrict it, it's fine. You click the API and this is what you have, but we'll go to our enabled services. So this will enable you to have access to these particular services that Google provides. And if you want to add services right off the bat, you go ahead and click on enable services and you would start typing all these names. So these are the names you start typing. First, you type this geocoding API, like copies, Ctrl C. So you type the geocoding API here, just do Ctrl C, like so. Oh, Ctrl Option C, yeah. So Ctrl Z. Okay, this is not working. Ctrl Z. Oh. I don't know why this is not working. So I'm just coming from a PC, something. I used to use a PC before, but now I use a Mac, so I'm still having a bit of issues, combining the keys. But if you don't want to type any of this stuff, for example, if I type Places API, if I go back here and I say Places API, like so, if I say Places API, all I have to do is to enable this. So click on it, and if it's enabled, so it's enabled already, but yours, it will say enable. That's what you have here. Mine is saying manage because I have it enabled already, but yours is going to say enable, and you enable it. Then also you go to the other one, type it, map static API, you enable it. Map JavaScript API, you enable it. Geolocation API, you enable it. Or if it's too much for you, what you have to do is you just click on this link. Click on this link like so. Click on this link. It will take you to that particular API service, and you'll be able to enable it right off the bat. So you're just going to be able to enable it. Let me show you other API services so it doesn't sound confusing. For example, if I'm going to enable dialog flow for machine learning, so what I'm just going to do is, so you're going to see enable. You can see it here, enable. So all you have to do is to click on the enable, and that's all. So do make sure that you click it for this particular service. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So once you do so, you'll be able to, once you do so, come back to Adalo, and you'll be able to set up your location like this. So that's first thing. So I'm just going to come here and check it out. Let's put a check mark over here. Where do we find that? Okay. I know there's a way to put a check mark around this. I'm not seeing it. Okay, that's fine. So I'm going to put a, I'm going to cross this. Where do I cross? Okay. I'm going to cross this. I'm going to put a red that this is done. So that is to using the location property. That's the next thing. Adalo gives you the ability to use the location properties in forms, use it in your database, and use it in search, which we're going to cover after this. But let's see how we can use this in our database first of all. So if we go back to our Adalo application, and we'll go back to add new tracks. So the reason why we'll add this is to enable us to get the specific location that that particular truck is located. For example, if I go back here, we can see there's not a location here. But if the truck is located in a particular place, in a particular compound, it will give us the chance to actually add it. So for example, if I'm typing Middletown, I might make a mistake, but these are the only Middletown that you have. So one is in Ohio and the other one is in Delaware. So if I click this, then I am very, very sure that this particular address is valid. So even if you're entering stuff by yourself, or you're entering it, your users are going to be entering it, it gives you the chance to be able to actually get the correct location that that particular thing is located. So I'm going to say done. That's the first thing first. Another thing that you can do with your location is when you're filling a form, when your users are filling the form. So if your users are filling the form and you want them to enter an address, what you do is that I'm going to add a feed. I'm going to say add visible feed. Add visible feed. Okay, that's fine. Let's go back to our database. So I'm going to go back to my database users. I'm going to say add property, and I'm going to say location property. So I'm going to call this current address. So this is my current address. I'm going to say save. Then when I come back to my form, say feed, I'm going to say current address. So what you can see is that here it's saying search by name or current address. Now I'm just going to say enter your address. So one thing that you should know is that users can be very they just want to do things as fast as possible and leave your application. That's it. They just want to do things easy, fast, and just leave your application. And most of them might end up not typing the right address. But when you have this type of location feature in place, users will have no choice but to type a good address, because if they don't type it, there's nowhere they're going. So I'm going to preview this so you can see what I'm talking about extensively. So we're going to say sign up. I'm going to use the test email. I'm going to use the test password. I'm going to say sign, and you can see that I have. You can see that this particular address is asking me to type a particular address. So if I type in 333 Fremont Street. Now it's going to list all the streets that has to do with Fremont in the US. If it's in Las Vegas, if it's in Ohio, if it's in San Francisco. So the one I'm typing is in San Francisco. So with this, a user will be able to see all the streets. They'll be able to see all the places that bear the same address. There are so many cities where you have two cities bearing the same name, or you have two streets bearing the same name. This will enable you to have the particular address. For example, if you're delivering a parcel, you don't want to deliver a parcel to the wrong address, and you want to be very sure. So if I click this, then I know that I have the real address of the person. I have the real address of the person, and I can go back to my application just like that. So that's basically how you would use the location property in your Adalo application. one way that you use. So let's go ahead and extract that out. Let's go ahead and extract that out. So the next thing I want to show you, it's okay. I'm going to strike this out with the red. So the next thing I want to show you is how to implement search by location. Search by location in Adalo. So let's do this. If we go back to this particular demo application, you will see that users are able to search right here. But here, what you're searching, they are basically searching by name. Yeah, they're basically searching by name. That's what you're doing. But what if you want your users to search by location like so? So what we'll do is that we'll take away this. We'll take this away, and we'll come back here. We'll take this away, we'll come back here and just click on the plus sign, and we'll say location. So you can see that this is not just a form input, this is a location input. This is different from the other type of form that you normally use. So if I say input, you can see there are two different types, test input and location input. The one we are interested in is the location input. So you drag it right here, and what you want to do is that you want users to be able to search this particular feed by location. So if I click here and I have my Google Map API set up, I'm going to say search by address. So that's just what I'm going to say. Search by address. Search by address. You can turn the icon to whatever you want to. If you want to, that's fine. And if your business is in a particular location, for example, you want users to be able to see all the restaurants or all the directory entry in a particular location by default. So this is where you add it. So your default location is where you add that particular location. So if I want to see if my default location is in New York, so I'm just going to say New York, USA. That's going to be my default location. But if it's not if I don't want any default location, I just want it to be empty, so I'm just going to leave it like so. So I'm going to just make my default location San Francisco. So what this is going to do is that it's going to show me every entry that's in for San Francisco. And also this is a list of food truck, of course. These are lists of food truck, which is cool. If we go back to our food truck database, you can see that the address that we have, it's we don't have, one of it does not have an address. So we'll go ahead and add this address. I'm just going to add my very popular home address, this one. So I'm going to add this and say save. And then this other one is in Brush Street. So I'm going to copy this other one. I'm going to copy this other one so that I can demonstrate this very well. And then I'm going to go back here and click on this list. And I'm going to say add custom feature where the truck full address. So if you're doing with the full address, it's fine. If you're doing with the city, it's fine. Where the truck street address is equal to, where the truck street address is equal to current complete location input street address. So if both addresses are okay, then it's going to show. But if it's not going to show. So let's preview again. Remember, we have two different items on this form. You can see by default, this is San Francisco by default, and we don't want the default. We want 333 this. So this is what we want by default. And you can see, so we want 333 like so. You can see one of the truck is no longer there because that particular item is not there by default. So we just have one left, and we can try the other one. This is the other one, Middletown, USA, and you would see this should go, and now it's changing. Why? Because we are just searching via the street address. So if the street address is the same thing with the other one, then we're going to search like that. Another way to use this is to compare. So for example, if you're not looking for the exact location where a particular thing is located, if you know my device location, then you can actually say, if I am within, help me to recommend stores that are close, that are 20-mile radius away from me. Just like you would see on this website that we went to, DoorDash. DoorDash will recommend stores that are like maybe 20 miles, maybe 10 miles, maybe 30 minutes away from me personally. That's something that Adalo offers you the ability to do. So for example, if we come back here again, if we come back here again, right here, we want to say, we'll delete this, and we want to say where the address. So we're not going to pick this sub address at all. We're just going to say where this struct address is within. Yeah, is within 20 miles. 20 miles of location input. Where this truck address is 20 miles off location input. So if this particular address is 20 miles, then it's going to show. So for example, let's go ahead and give this a try and see how it's going to work. So I'm gonna take this away, and you can see we have this too. So I'm going to say 400 Fremont. So let's see the address again. I'm going to say 400 Fremont. So the previous address was 3333. This other one, I'm going to say 400 Fremont Street, blah, 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 blah. But let's go ahead and see this again. So this is 651 Middletown. So I'm not very sure how name works in the US. So I'm going to say 700 and 700 Middletown, like so. And you can see that it's still showing, even though it's not the same address. Why? Because both of them are 20 miles, within 20-mile radius of each other. So that's another way you can use this. This is so important, especially if you're just creating anything that connects two people together. This is the way Uber works. With this type of feature, you can actually create an Uber. Really, you can create an Uber. This is where an Uber works. Uber just recommend drivers that are close to you. So when you say you need a ride, it sends a broadcast to all the drivers around, and then it can recommend the closest. It sends a broadcast. It checks all the drivers around and recommend the closest to you. And when that person accepts the ride, it deletes that request from every other person. But if the person does not accept the ride, it keeps sending that broadcast repeatedly. So really, you can create an Uber with Adalo just with this simple feature. So that's number 2. So let's go ahead and cross it out. How to implement search by location. This is done. So and the next thing you want to do is how to get the user's location. This is pretty straightforward. How do you get the user's location? So if you click on this, yeah, and it's very easy for you to get the user's location. If you click on this and you want to filter, instead of saying location input, you would say current device location. This will automatically get the device location of the current user. And if you click on this first splash screen, you could say actions will be add an action, and this will be more. This will be location. So request permission for location. So that's what you do. So that you can get the current device location, you would have to request the permission for location when they hit the screen. This is very, very important for you. When they hit the screen, request for permission. And sometimes so you can actually create a logged in user feed that says if you requested for permission or not. And when you request for permission, when you request for permission, you could actually when they sign up feeds, I'm sure there's a way that let's say full name, let's say on submit button. Don't worry, let's say on submit button, we want to update logged in user current address. So yeah, so current address is going to be the current device location. So you can actually get the location and store it, then you can work with that location over and over and over again. So I hope that's pretty straightforward. That's how you would get the device location. That's how you would compare things. But you should only use this if you have a lot of data in your data sets. Else people are always going to come there and not find something. So what if I travel from one city to another? So I think a lot of time it's just better for you to actually use the search. But if you're doing something like an Uber, then device location will work. So if a driver is around if a driver is 20 miles within a user's current device location, then that driver will show up. But if that driver is not around that place, then that driver wouldn't show up. So that's how you do that. I think next thing that we'll do is how do you set up map pins in Adalo. So for example, let's go back. Okay, let's go back to this part of the app again. I'm going to just drop this down a bit, and I'm going to bring this down also. I'm going to bring this down, and then I'm going to say map. So this is the map, so just drag this in here. So I'm going to take this up a bit. So I'm going to take this up, then just make it like so. So this is going to ask you, it's going to ask you to retype the API key, which is pretty strange. I don't see a reason why Adalo should tell you to do this, but it's pretty strange. It's supposed to fetch the API key by itself from the settings page, but it's not doing so. So let's go ahead and type the API key again. So just go ahead and type the API keys all over. Credentials, that's fine. So I'm going to go credentials. I'm going to say API key. I'm going to copy this API key, and then I'm just going to put it here. So single markers, there's a difference between single and multiple markers. If you're showing one item in a particular location, then use single markers and you're good. But if you're showing multiple items, say for example you want to show all the restaurants in a particular location, then you have to use multiple markers. And the multiple markers will then be a list. So the marker address will be the marker's address will be the list. So this is going to be a collection of food trucks, yeah. Then the marker's address will be the food truck, not the food truck name. It will be the food truck address. That's what it's going to be. Truck location. Then it's going to be the full address. That's going to be the marker. The full address, that's what it's going to be. The star, you can change the star from roadmap to hybrid, which is super ugly. Satellite, which I don't like, to terrain, which is very close to roadmap. Terrain and roadmap are very, very, very close. But I like to pick the roadmap because it shows the users, path to get to where they're going to. So this is not just the most exciting thing here. So if we go back here, you will see that it's saying all the food truck. So a lot of time you want to sync this list and this list together at the same time. So what you're going to do is that it's not going to be all the food truck. You're going to add a custom feature where the full address or street address is equal to the location input street address, where the street address is equal to this street address. So that's how you will fix both of these two together so that they are always in sync. Let's go ahead and try this out. So you will see that we have two. So one is in Kali and the other one is the one is right here, right? So we have two. So if I type in this, now we're seeing this, and we're no longer seeing our list down here again. So let's go ahead and find this. But this is working already. Let's go ahead and find this. Oh, I think the reason why it's not working is because we said 20-mile radius within the user's device location. Let's go ahead and pull that off. Take that off. Let's go ahead and take it out. Yeah, we'll take that out, and then we'll just filter. We will say where the street address is equal to other option location input street address. So I think that's going to work now. So now we have these two already, and then we can well, not this. That's our API key. So we can just type in this, and then we can find this. And we'll see a single pin and a single truck. So you can see we have a single pin and then we have a single truck right there. That's the way you would do this. That's the way this will work. And also, there's one thing that this doesn't do. But there's a particular thing that this doesn't do. Ability to search by name. So if I go here and I say or where the name is equal to location input name. So it doesn't really give you the ability to search this by name and by address. So if you're searching by name of this particular restaurant, you would have to use something else. You would have to use something else entirely. I don't know what Adalo means by name here, but let's just say name and see, so you see what I'm talking about. So if I click on this, and the name of this particular food is Vietnamese. So like Vietnamese like this. Except maybe something has changed, but last time I checked, it's not allowing you to search by both. So you can see it only allows you to search with stuff that it's found in Google Maps. So you can't search anything else. So you can see I'm trying to search like yellow streets and it's not coming up. So if you are in this type of situation, what you can do is that you can actually create a way for users to navigate, so they can search by they can navigate to another page that allow them to search by name and by other things. But if you're searching by location, you'll only be able to search like this. But if you decide to put another input feed, it's not going to be so terrible, but it's just going to make the application not so beautiful. It's not going to make it really beautiful if you decide to add another input feed to it. So that's the way you would set up pins in Adalo. And one more thing that I didn't show you is that if you set up the pins, you can actually tell the pin what to do. Yeah, you can tell the pin what to do. So if you go back here, if you go back to the markers, and you say when the user click on these markers, I want to go to this menu details. So I want to link to the menu details. So you'll see it's going to push the current food truck in there. So because this is a list of food truck, it's just like another list. So let's go back here. Let's go back here and watch the user click this. So if the user click on any of the pins, this should work really well. So I'm going to click on this pin. So you can see it goes to this menu. You can see it goes to this menu and users can just continue with their order. That's the way you would do it. So we're done with that. Next thing is to compare two locations. So the way you do it is for the user to have one location, and this truck to have another location, which is what we have done before. We have done this before. If a user have this location and that location, I want you to show this. So the major way you would compare location in Adalo is to say, if this particular user is within this radius, I want you to show them this particular stuff. And another thing is that you can always add and subtract latitude and longitude. Yeah, you can add and subtract longitude and latitude. Say for example, you want to say, I'm going to duplicate this description like so. I'm going to duplicate it like this, and this is going to be, so I'm going to say mathematics formula. I'm going to say new formula, and the formula is going to be function is going to be like this, mouse. So you can see this is expecting latitude and longitude minus latitude and longitude. So this is expecting current truck location latitude plus longitude, latitude. So you can put another one in there plus, current truck longitude minus current device location latitude plus current device location longitude, and add the bracket. So add the bracket and that should work. So let's say current distance, and let's see how this works. Let's preview. Let's preview this. If this doesn't work, probably we didn't add it up well. If this doesn't work, but this should work. Well, okay, this is not showing. Okay. So this is just showing, this is not showing the current distance, it's just showing the description only. So let's do this again. Let's do this again. Mouse minus this, minus, okay, I think there's supposed to be a bracket somewhere. It's supposed to be a bracket somewhere. Yeah, it's supposed to be a bracket somewhere to make sure this is right. Okay, let's check this out again. Okay, so it's not calculating the current distance yet. I really don't know why that this is happening. Maybe there's something wrong with my formula. Maybe there's something wrong with my formula, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to figure this out probably before I finish producing the video. But if I don't figure this out before then, I will do another tutorial and show you how to add longitude and latitude. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you've learned something for it. If you have a comment, please leave it below. If you have a question, leave it below and I'll do well to answer you. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and to share. It's just good for the YouTube algorithm. If you're looking forward to building a project on Adalo, you're looking forward to building complex project here, feel free to reach out to me and I'll do what to help you out. Thank you.